Welcome, Anna. All right, so we're going to work on feet, calves, shins today. There were no special requests, and I spent about 9 hours on a plane today. So my feet actually got a little bit swollen. My feet never get puffy and swollen, but they did, I think, after being on a red-eye flight and sleeping and super uncomfortable on the plane. So we're going to do feet, calves, shins, all that good stuff today. So we're going to start with one ball. And we're going to start by standing up and doing a little bit of rolling under the foot, and then we'll come down and do some more foot massage. So feel free to kind of hold onto a wall or a chair to help you with the balance, and just bring the ball underneath the foot, applying as much pressure as you like. So if your feet aren't too tender, you can really press into the ball, and you can see I'm just massaging all along the base of that foot. So if you did just come in, we're going to use the ball, we're going to use our hands, and I'm going to talk a little bit about gua sha, which I do from time to time. So if you have like a kitchen, a plastic spatula, maybe something that you would spread icing on a cake with, I don't know what those are called, the dull end of a knife, and some type of lotion. I'll show you some different ways you can use that as well to really massage the feet. But as you start to roll up and down a few times, then just start to bring it right underneath that arch of the foot. Start to apply a little bit of pressure and let that foot just rainbow over the top of it. To start to really get down into the arch. It can be a little tender depending on how tight your feet are. But what we're doing is we're taking the cuneiform bones that are at the back of the arch, and then they come out into those metatarsals. And we're just working to spread all of that out and help make the arch in our foot. So the more flat-footed we are, the more tender this may be. It's not going to completely cure a flat foot, but it can help support that arch. And it just feels good in kind of a hurts so good sort of way. And then you can even press in and twist. It's really working the ball all into the arch of the foot. Nice. Awesome. And then we're going to roll back. We're going to use this ball to stretch through the arch of the foot. So trying to keep the big toe on the ball, just gently press your 4 other toes. My middle toe or my second toe isn't completely on the ground. It's kind of hovering on the ball. That's fine. But you want the big toe to kind of be leaning on that ball, and then step forward with your opposite foot. Lean into it, stretching through that big toe, and maybe even lifting the heel. And you'll feel a nice stretch come right down that inner arch of the foot, stretching and opening that fascia behind the big toe. And we'll take several breaths here. So just warming these feet up. And then we'll get a little more into them in a moment. Nice. And then come off, and let's try to repeat that. This time, trying to put the 3 middle toes on the ball. Trying to push your pinky toe and your big toe down to the ground if you can. And then again, step forward with that opposite leg. Lean in and begin to lift that heel. And it might only lift a little bit. And you're going to feel that stretch come right down that main part of the plantar fascia. So the plantar fascia actually spreads out across the whole arch of the foot, but we kind of feel those main bands right through the center. And just getting a little bit of a stretch. You can bend that knee. Nice. And you can rock that back and forth a few times. Nice. Excellent. And then we'll come on off. You can take just a moment to feel the difference between one foot and the other, and then let's get on over into that other foot to give it attention as well. Pressing as hard or as softly as you like, just taking that roll up and down the foot. So this is something you could do sitting in a chair also. You don't have to stand up. And I know it's really weird because I'm talking to you and you only see the lower part of my body, but I want you to see what's going on with the foot. We're just starting to kind of open up through the foot. You can do this for a long time. You can do this like 5-10 minutes on each foot. I'm just using it as kind of a warm-up We'll get deeper into the foot either with our hand or with that gua sha type tool. Nice, and then coming under that arch, really starting to press in, trying to rainbow that foot over the ball, letting it really open up the arch. If this is too intense, you can always keep rolling it rather than mashing. Nice. I'm just really trying to spread and open, and maybe you notice your other foot is feeling a lot lighter, a lot more open after it's already gone through this. And then you can take that little twisting motion. Just kind of letting the ball, it's really nice if you do have the rubber little massage balls, that little rubberiness kind of grips the top layers of tissue and really helps kind of twist them over those lower layers of tissue, whereas a tennis ball doesn't quite do that as well. But of course, you could use a tennis ball, lacrosse ball. Nice. A couple more swipes here. And then roll it so the big toe stays on, and those other 4 toes come off as much as possible. Remember, you always hold onto a wall here. Step forward with that opposite foot and begin to arch up. Try to lift your heels straight up rather than letting it turn outward or inward. So let stretch come right through the inner side of the arch. Maybe noticing the difference in the 2 feet. And nice, and then come on down and let's try those 3 middle toes. Bringing the 3 toes in the middle on, trying to press the big toe and baby toe off, stepping forward and stretch. And even if it's just a little bit, and I like to kind of just rock this one up and down, really get some movement through the tissue. Nice. Really helps that circulation through the feet. Awesome. And then come on down. You can set the balls to the side for a moment. We'll get back to those when we get into the shin and the calves. And we're either going to use our fingers, which work totally great. So you can start with kind of the scraping, just what we might do at a barefoot class at the beginning of it. And then you can also take your fingers and just really start to massage down in between the bones. The other thing that I like to do that I was talking about, if you take a little bit of oil, because you want it to kind of be smooth, put the oil on the foot and then I'm using a wrench. But like I said, something that you would spread like icing on a cake works really well. Or if you've got kind of a big spoon, you could use the handle part of the spoon. And I'm just going to use that to help with that scraping motion. Now, some days this can be really, really tender if your feet are really tight. We did a ton of walking on vacation, and then, like I said, I sat in a plane in a very, not great, comfortable position. And so the bottoms of my feet are dying, and that's when no one had any requests. So I was like, oh, we're doing feet today then. And so I could use a tool, and you can even see it when you're using the tool. You can just see those top layers sliding over those layers below it. Nice. Or you could use your hand, your knuckles, always an option as well. Just sometimes a tool does something a little bit different than you would do with your hand. You can actually scrape both ways. And all that little kind of grittiness that you hear, that's that fascia not sliding like silk. It's getting caught up, tangled up. And that's what we're trying to loosen up. Nice. And then if you want, you can start to get in there with your thumbs as well, starting to work between those metatarsals. So moving them around, trying to spread them out. just like we might do in the VFit conditioning class. And then I like to even get a little twisting in there. So kind of holding the heel and just working to loosen up, especially back through the cuneiform bones. Nice. And then you can, you know, go back to scraping, just kind of mixing that up. So going from some rubbing to some massaging, back to some rubbing. Starting to notice that loosening up happening. And then coming up, kind of finishing up into right into that ball of the foot, right at the top of those metatarsals. And really just trying to create space, get them to unstick. So you've got tendons that connect the bone to the bone and ligaments that connect muscle to bone. We're just trying to, or ligaments connect bone to bone, tendon connects muscle to bone. Just trying to loosen up those connections. Massaging up into the toes. Wiggling them around. And then last on this foot, maybe trying to get in between each toe with the pads of your fingers, or like if I were using this wrench, which has kind of this nice little rounded side, I could use the wrench to get in between there. You can buy real fancy gua sha tools. They're kind of cool. They're made with quartz or jade. But as far as functionality, a wrench works, a spatula works. All of those things work just as well. Nice. And then let's come on over to the other foot, and then we'll move up into the shins and the calves. So if you want to put a little oil in there, I like to use oil really even if I'm using my fingers. Also, it just helps you get that rubbing motion, or taking that spoon, that spatula, and massaging it. You can also use the spoon, this gua sha technique, when we get up to the calf in a moment, and I'll show you that as well. We're just trying to do those layers and loosen up to get rid of that grittiness. Using your fingers, and then you can alternate back and forth this between some of the scraping and the massaging and the twisting. So just kind of working all through those three methods: scrape, massage, and twist. And just working with which one kind of feels best to you. Sometimes you'll even get a little popping in there as those adjustments take place. In between the metatarsals. Paying extra attention to the places that hurt so good. So that's the tighter area, which a lot of times tends to be in that inner arch, and also right in that big toe mound, because that's the part of our foot that really takes the pressure of pushing off. One thing I noticed being on vacation and wearing shoes a lot more is, oh, my feet hurt so bad. I mean, I got blisters on my ankles or on the back of my heel, but just the arches of my feet were really bothering me. So my girls and I just started kind of taking our shoes off when we would work out, and my feet loved it so much more to actually use the natural foot. But we were doing so much hiking and stuff, and of course we had to wear shoes. My feet would be so sore at night, and I don't get that when I'm going barefoot, which just kind of reiterated and made sink in how good barefoot is for us. Scrape that again. You see a little redness coming in, that's a blood supply coming in. We like that. And then getting up into the ball of the foot, in between the metatarsals there, maybe massaging that big toe mound. And then moving those toes around, spreading them out. And if you do have a jugs, I know most people have jugs where you have to wear shoes, and especially if you wear nice dress shoes, do try to each day when you take your shoes off to really roll and massage your feet, even just 5 minutes on each foot, just to help that spread of the foot. Because when we crunch it together, all of those ligaments and tendons, they just get all mushed together and the bones get cramped. We really want to spread that out so our feet can function as they were meant to function. Bring those fingers between the toes. Nice. And then let's come on up into the calf. So a couple of different ways to do the calf. Of course, you can bring the balls, the 2 balls in the sock or the bag underneath the calf. You can lift yourself up and roll here. Or you can come into that child's pose position, which is kind of my fave place to come into it. Just start the balls. We'll move them kind of 3 times. We'll start up with it close to that knee joint. Coming back towards that child's pose type position. You can stay up in the seated, or you can come down onto your elbows or all the way out in the child's pose and just rock side to side. So you massage the ball across the calf, that gastrocnemius, that soleus, or yes, extend that leg out long, rocking side to side or rolling it up and down. And then as you're doing this, I'm just going to talk to you about a couple of things. You can also use your gua sha tool. Lotion it up. And once you get to the calf, if you want to use that gua sha tool, you want to massage towards the heart. So what we're doing is trying to help the fluid that's maybe accumulated down in our ankles, in our feet. We want to help move that up so that the lymphatic system can help reabsorb that and flush things out of our body. So the gua sha'ing works really well here also. So maybe you want to do, a little bit of all of those methods. If you are in that child's pose, you can just take the ball, roll it down a little bit, coming kind of more into that mid calf. Loosening up the muscles. So you're really going to use this entire 30 minutes today to focus below the knee. So much of our issues that happen in our back, up through our shoulders, it starts from the feet. So if we have poor foot posture, that is going to change the alignment of the knees, alignment of the hips from that nice straight alignment that it should be in. It kind of angles it out, and that can cause issues in our hips, our knees, and then of course all the way up our body. So feet are super important. And a lot of what happens in the calf and the shin, the tightness in the calf and the shin, can really pull things off in the feet. That's where we're doing our focus today. I'm also recording this session, so it will be up, on our on-demand for several weeks, so you can refer back to it. Nice. Again, you can be doing that scraping. You can use your hands to massage. It's really nice to massage your calves with your hands. Also, or rolling the calf up and down on the ball. If you are in this child's pose position, go ahead and give that one more roll, kind of just towards the base of the calf muscle, right above the Achilles tendon. I usually like to set up into a little kneeling position here, apply a little smashing pressure from the top, just because it's the way the calf muscle comes down. This will give you a little bit more massage in there. So here, or again, of course, you can be rolling it here. Really working all up and down the calf. I really recommend doing both because when we roll this direction, we're rolling with the muscle fiber. When we come into that child's pose type position, we're cross fibering it. So we're going across the muscle fiber. So if you're really having some feet, tightness in the feet, the calves, even up through the knees, doing both of these positions is great, and then adding in a little bit of that scraping or gua shawing, if we want to use the more technical term. That's just going to give you a complete release. So just another minute here maybe, and then we'll come into the front, that shin, and then get the other leg. Nice. And as you do this, you'll start to notice where you feel tighter. Of course, spend a little extra time in the area that feels tighter to you. Awesome. So to come to the shin, a couple of options again. Option number one, using the ball. If we step in this mermaid type position, I'm going to bring the ball perpendicular to the shin, and then leaning in, I can roll here. Or I can actually lift my bottom up off the ground. Now I'm putting more pressure into that. By pushing more body weight into it, I can even be down on my elbow if that bothers my wrist. Getting all up and down this outer area of the shin. These parts of our body, like our shin, you really only need to take a couple of minutes here. It's not, it's not a huge muscle group. And then we can also, of course, really great to use that scraping method. Again, scraping towards the heart to help pull any pooled blood, any pooled fluids up so they can reabsorb. If you get a lot of grittiness in here, you definitely know you've got some tightness. You can come back into that calf a little. But you really should kind of see the layers of the skin moving. If you don't see a lot of actual movement, you know that you're definitely tight. Maybe go back to the rolling a few times. Welcome, Barbara. I'm just kind of finishing up release and restore. We'll move into that yin in just a few minutes, about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And then I like to take just a minute to kind of get into that posterior tibialis. It's a hard muscle to get into. It's really important. It comes down and attaches 9 places in the foot. But if you take that shin bone and kind of feel it right here on top of your leg, take your thumbs, wrap them around, and try to push up underneath the shin bone. So it's like I'm trying to wrap under the shin bone. And then take my thumb. Really works best with your thumb or your fingers. Think about rolling under the shin bone. And again, just a minute or so there. It doesn't have to be a lot because we've already done our shin, we've done our calf, we've done our foot. So we've already hit some of these posterior tibialis positions. But just adding a little bit more. Maybe right down there around the ankle. And then again, bringing it up. So pressing the fluid up. So it's not that you can't ever go down, but do definitely take some time to come up. Nice. And then just because of time's sake, I want us to get some time on that other calf. So we'll go back to the option of here. Right, so you have here, you have the child's pose position. Just moving it a few times. So, maybe 30 seconds or a minute in each place, depending on how much time you have. And then the option to do the scraping as well. We have right about 4 minutes left, so pace ourselves on this calf. Breathing, and as always, drink plenty of water. That's one of our biggest detoxifiers, helps our body flush out the waste. The other thing that I think contributed to the swelling that I had around my ankles, you know, not only flying, but I wasn't drinking enough water because I was like, I want to drink too much water on a plane. I don't want to get up every 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. And then just rolling those balls down if you're in the child's pose position. Welcome if you're starting to come in for yin. We have about 3.5 minutes left here in release and restore. And if you're in release and restore, just kind of play with all those positions on this leg. And if you feel like this side's getting cheated, even when I start yin in a moment, just kind of keep with this leg for a minute or two. But so getting that calf, the scraping, the rolling, and then when you're ready, I'm just reviewing it with you. Don't feel like you have to rush through to this. You can get that shin here, scraping, and then getting some of that posterior tibialis. So just kind of going at a pace that works best for you. Anytime you're using your fingers or a gua sha tool, adding a little bit of that oil is going to make that massage a little bit easier. So you've got about 2.5 minutes officially. So feel free to just kind of work through those areas. Same thing on the side that you did the other side. And then, as I said, as we get started into yin in a few minutes, feel free to take that first couple of minutes as we're just settling in to finish up this calf. I don't want it to feel cheated. We just are starting to run out of official time. So welcome everybody coming into yin. Just hang out, settle in, drink some water, maybe take some light stretches that might feel good to you as we finish up release and restore. That posterior tibialis, putting a little bit of oil, especially as you're kind of massaging that posterior tibialis, can really help that thumb slide right up underneath the shin bone. Oil makes a big difference. If you're using the balls, you don't really need it because you want that grippiness of the rubber balls. But if you're using your fingers or a gua sha tool, scraping tool, a little oil is like your best friend. All right, so continue to work on that a little bit if you feel like you need a little bit longer on that calf. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording so then I can start it again for yin. So welcome everybody coming in for yin. Give me just a second here.